Good morning and a very warm welcome to each one
Hari
of
Mardal.
you. Yes, sir. Very warm welcome to each one of you. On behalf of Ambedkar Law University, it's my proud privilege to introduce a renowned legal luminary and an institution builder, Professor Dr. Ranbir Singh Ji, who carries aura of a visionary, who as an outstanding statesman and academician has shown immense commitment and contribution towards changing the legal education landscape of the country. A well-known figure in the legal education domain globally. He is the former and founder vice chancellor of NLU Delhi, established by Delhi government in 2008. In short span of 12 years, he has chaired NLU Delhi, which is now recognized not only in India but also at international level. It is all because of administrative and his leadership abilities. Prior to his stint in NLU Delhi, he was founder vice chancellor of Nalsar University Law and had been at its helm since its inception, that is, in 1998. Professor Ranbir Singh acumen took Nalsar to great heights as a well-known premier institution for legal education and research in the country. He has been vice
आ
chancellor
जाओ तो बताइए.
for over 20 years now. Professor Singh's contribution in redesigning legal education in the country has been significant, being the member of Legal Education Committee, Bar Council of India. His legal writings span the areas of jurisprudence, human rights, legal education, legal aid, personal laws, and justice education. He has more than 50 research publications to his credit. His association with several national and international organizations in advisory capacity is there. He is a member of the board of governors of numerous
डेटा भी ले लो.
organizations.
डेटा भी ले लो.
Professor Singh has been the recipient of many awards. Hello, yeah. Professor Singh has been the recipient of many awards in recognition of accomplishments, both as administrator and researcher, and some of them are Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of the exemplary contribution in legal education, and second, Lex Witness recognized him in the Hall of Fame top 50 as an individual who has helped shape the legal landscape of modern India. Most important is the Alumnus of Distinction Award by His Excellency Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, former President of
नेक्स्ट हो.
India. British Council has portrayed him as one of the 12 talented, creative, and genius spirits who are making efforts personally and
लिंक में.
through their institution to ensure their engagement with UK works to mutual benefit. His series of legal education has been acknowledged by many institutions and educational bodies. I would like to take this opportunity to share with all of you how fondly our Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Dev Sarup often mentions Professor Ranbir Singh's name with great pride and dignity. Actually, no discussion in the legal ecosystem can escape Dr. Singh's name. His deep acumen, his landmark achievements, and his marquee creations are second to none. Without wasting any more time now, let us hear from the genius himself. But before that, may I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Dev Sarup, to please say a few lines about him.
Good morning, everybody, and very good morning to रणवीर सिंह जी. हमारे बहुत ही प्रिय हैं, हमारे बहुत ही सम्माननीय हैं. And sir, as you may be aware that this university is recently established university, and the endeavor is to have its own academic programs besides the affiliation of all the law colleges of the state of Rajasthan. There are 88 law colleges in the state of Rajasthan, 73 private and 15 government. And we have progressed well. But sir, your association, your guidance, your advice, your concern is of immense importance for all of us. And today your presence kindly agreed to
ठीक अब जाओ.
interact with our colleagues, students, and all the fraternity. So we are immensely grateful to you, sir. We have no words. अगर आप कहें तो दो लाइनें सुना दूं शेर की. अगर अगर तलाश करूं, वैसे तो मिलेगा नहीं आप जैसा, लेकिन अगर तलाश करूं कोई मिल ही जाएगा. अगर तलाश करूं कोई मिल ही जाएगा, मगर हमारी तरह कौन तुमको चाहेगा. मगर तुम्हारी तरह कौन हमको चाहेगा. हम और इसके आगे की लाइन है कि तुम्हें भी जरूर कोई हसरतों से देखेगा, मगर वो आंखें हमारी कहां से लाएगा. सो वी हैव utmost gratitude, utmost regards, and एक तरह से हमारा एक अधिकार भी है आप पर, क्योंकि आप हमारे अपने हैं, बड़े भाई की तरह हैं. आपका सुपरविजन हमेशा, हमने LLM शुरू किया तब भी डॉक्टर साहब का रेगुलर सुपरविजन मिला है. यूनिवर्सिटी को इस्टेब्लिश करने में मैं रेगुलरली जब भी जरूरत होती है सर से कंसल्ट करता हूँ. So it has been a long association, an association with lot of joy, lot of enrichment of each other, and we still remember the glorious period at Nalsar and then at Delhi. And myself was exceptionally fortunate being in UGC, having occasions to meet him often. So, sir, I, on behalf of myself and on behalf of the university, I invite you and welcome you for this talk. And the moment situation becomes normal, it would be an honor to welcome you here in the Pink City. We will make you pink at Pink City, and it will be an honor, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mridulji. Please.
Sir. Sir, please, you have to unmute your mic, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Your link didn't work actually. I had to borrow a phone. There was some problem actually. Anyway, Dr. Dev Charup, I really do not know in which relationship I define him. As a younger brother, as a friend, there are certain relations which are cannot be defined in the definitional framework. We have been knowing each other for a very, very long time. I think better would be that I said we are a family. That would be a better nomenclature. Dr. Mridul, I have been knowing you for a very, very long time.
Yes,
and congratulations to you for helping Dr. Dev Swarup in creating this university.
It's
I'm sure that would be a great experience.
Yes,
for you working with such a you know him already. He was in Jaipur University.
Yes,
the kind of work he did and the principles on which he said, okay, bye. I don't want to stay with you because I carry certain values. And if you don't cherish those values, I have no place for you to keep me here.
I am lucky to be with him, sir. I'm lucky.
There are very few people, those who will have the guts to leave a university like Jaipur University on principles.
Right.
And I'm sure there must be some faculty and students.
Yes.
Great privilege for me to speak to you this morning. And I've been very keenly looking forward that I should talk to students. Dear students, if I start with the landscape of the legal education in the country, we today have about 1,600 colleges, 250 law faculties, and now, including your university, about 25 law schools or law universities, out of which 4 are state law universities, which affiliate the law colleges with their jurisdiction with them. So it's a landscape is huge. And I am reminded of a meeting, of my meeting when I shifted from Bangalore, in fact, from Hyderabad to Delhi, at the residence of the Chief Justice, Justice Sharma, that time. Justice Bhandari was there, Justice Sikri was there, and then all important people who was concerned with the creation of this university at NLU Delhi, they were all there. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. They were all there, and then they just asked me one question. And the question they asked me was that when you have come to Delhi, you are the 13th law school. So your greatest challenge would be that how do you make your place within the vicinity of the other law schools, because there are already 12 law schools existing, and many of them were very well established, like Bangalore, Hyderabad, or we had Bhopal, we have Jodhpur, we had Calcutta. Many of the law schools were doing extremely well. So that was the biggest challenge for me. And when I was to respond, I said, as far as I am concerned, my challenge will be met by twofold vision. And the vision was that I said I will start with my own test, which I called ILET, with the All India Law Entrance Test, we call it. And the second was that my emphasis would be on research, because most of the law schools which are already existing, they do some research, but the seriously research have not been taken up by the law schools. That was the agenda with which I started. And I can share with my friends of LLM that ultimately what institutions become, what any university of law or any college or any faculty would become, it will be because of the contribution of the students. The contribution of the faculty would of course be there. The vice chancellor is there to provide you facilities, to provide you buildings and create infrastructure. The faculty is to provide you good teaching. But as far as the institution is concerned, you are the ambassadors. Ultimately, what name the university would get would ultimately come from the students. Let me illustrate this. Uh, uh, the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Dev Swarup, also mentioned about Nalsar, Hyderabad. Let me share you a very interesting incident of Hyderabad. In my first batch, I had only 34 students, 18 boys and 16 girls. And when the first batch passed out, you will be surprised to know that in the very first batch, we had a Rhodes Scholar, Aarti from Chennai. And I don't know how many institutions would have the distinction of producing a Rhodes Scholar in the very first batch out of 34 students. And then everybody started asking, what is this Nalsar University of Law? Everybody started asking. And that's how the university at Hyderabad, which was Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad, was known not because of the faculty or of anybody else, but because of the achievement of the student, because in the very first batch, we had a Rhodes Scholar. And that's how the hard work which is done by the students ultimately reflect in the shape of the development of the institution. So my first message to you would be that ultimately tomorrow what the Jaipur Law University would become would be ultimately because of you, because of your hard work, because of your performance, and because of your achievements. And if you do well, initially I know that there may not be many facilities, you may not be having a very good faculty or even a good library, because if I share with you, let me tell you that the law school Bangalore, known as NLSIU, initially started in a cycle shed in the Bangalore Law University campus. And from there, now you can see where Law School Bangalore has gone. If you ask me about Hyderabad, then we also started a very old building, which was almost more than 80-year-old and was not being used for about 20 years by anybody, because it was supposed to be inauspicious in the sense that it was a government building, and some minister who was staying in this building died, and then it was given to the chairperson of the Legislative Assembly. He lost his job, and then the building was declared to be inauspicious, and nobody occupied it for a long time. So when the university was to start, the building was given to us, and to cut the story short, it becomes so auspicious after that when Nalsar University of Law became a great success. that everybody started fighting for this building. Though this building is not being used even now, it is in the way we left it at the time. But it became a heritage building after Nelsar Institute of Law, Hyderabad, shifted from the city campus to the new campus where we are right now at Shamirpet, which is a beautiful place if you have seen it. With this background, let me congratulate everybody that for joining a very, very prestigious profession as legal profession. And I've been always saying that over the years, the prestige of the legal profession has increased manifold because there are two very important phases in the history of the legal profession in the country now. If you see that initially the students, those who used to join law, they used to come by chance. Mridul will understand that our generation or the generation which was senior to us, many of them would share with us that we joined law because we could not get admission anywhere else. And it was by chance that they came to the legal profession and succeeded. Now the scene is changed. Now the students come to legal profession to join a 3-year course or a 5-year course because of the choice. They decide at a very early stage after 10+2 or after their graduation, they have to go for law because there are multiple career options. There is a great future for the law students, and suddenly we find that legal profession has become as important as medical or engineering or MBA. And rather, I will tell you, I have instances where a girl student, Rangashari, I remember her name, came from Chennai, and she qualified a CLAT. She was a 5th ranker. She qualified IELTS. She qualified Stephens. She could have been admitted, qualified IIT Madras. Then one day she came to me and said, "Sir, what should I do? I have qualified at so many places and I don't know where to join." I said, "Okay, you find out from your peer group. It is your decision. If you think I'm going to tell you that you join Delhi, I'm not going to do it." So finally she came to Delhi, but her aim was to come in IAS, and last year she came in IFS. So these are the places which are happening places. Now students are joining all streams wherever they want to go. There are multiple career options for them. And that's how these institutions have shaped the destinies of the students from the admission by chance to admission by choice. And that's how we produce best of professionals, where we call, I normally say, I coined that sentence that they are technically sound, professionally competent, and socially relevant. And ultimately, we will become, I again repeat, we as institutions will become, whatever we become because of your hard work. Where whatever you get, whatever achievements you have to achieve, ultimately comes to universities. I say, I got a Rhodes Scholar. Like if you have seen the Rhodes Scholar this year, out of all the 24 law schools, one Rhodes Scholar which came in the law school is NLU Delhi again. Anupriya Donchak, a girl from Haryana, who was studying in NLU Delhi, and one from NLU, one from the CLC Delhi law faculty. There were only 2 law fellowship, and I tell you, I am a very happy person in the sense that I got a phone from the chairperson of the Rhodes Committee, Professor Chauhan, who is a very, very known scientist in the country. And he told me that, Dr. Singh, I have personally phoned you because out of the 5 students which we shortlisted, there were at least 3 students from NLU Delhi itself. And then ultimately, we found that girl was the most suitable. I must compliment to you for having such wonderful students, those who have a lot of achievements at this level. And we had no choice but to award that fellowship to her. And this is how the students are performing. And ultimately that comes to us as vice chancellors, as dean, as faculty, and we all take pride in what we achieve through our students. With this brief background, I probably now don't want to give a long bhashan. I will shift to Mridul, and we'll have an open house. And I will expect the students would frankly ask me whatever questions you have there in mind, because there's a rare opportunity that I have got to interact with these students. So over to you, Mridul, for questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, Yuvraj, where are you? You have pitched in a question yesterday. Yuvraj, are you there? The
Or
Yes,
you
ma'am,
can
I'm
read
here.
and
Yes,
uh,
Yuvraj.
Mridul,
Ji. Yes, sir.
you can read the name of the student and say the question.
Okay, sir. So Yuvraj,
That would be easy.
okay, sir. Is the paradigm of traditional LLM changing, and whether the thought that LLM should be done only in case one needs to become a professor, is it changing? This is the question from Yuvraj.
The paradigm of LLM is certainly changing.
Yes.
We had a 2-year LLM program. I am a part of that program. I was a student of that program, and I also taught that program for a very long time. Initially, when I was a student, LLM was taken very seriously. But over the years, I don't know what were the reasons, but LLM programs was taken very non-seriously. Most of the students, those who will join the 2-year LLM program, will take admission, but at the same time join the bar, will prepare for judiciary. And I found if there were 20 students in the LLM program, hardly 5-6 students will come to attend the classes. And unfortunately, those 5-6 will not come the next day. Next day, the other 5-6 will come, and the teacher will not know whether to repeat the same lecture for 6 months or what to do. And LLM was absolutely non-serious program. And that's how I was also part of this committee at the UGC. And we said, let us have a rigorous program and make it 1 year. When all Indian students are going abroad for 1 year LLM, why can't we have it in the country? The paradigm of LLM has certainly changed. But ultimately, whether it is 2 year or 1 year will ultimately depend on how much hard work you do. It's not a question of years, but it's a question of your hard work. Ultimately, that matters.
Yes.
Sir, I had a follow-up question, if I may.
Yes, come on, Yuvraj.
So the query that I had was when I was at a national university at Jodhpur, we were wondering the 5-year course was initially designed in such a manner that the last year would inadvertently be spent in an industrial exposure, where, just like in traditional colleges in Bombay, etc., where people do the articleship or they continue, studying in a university. Was that the thought, or was it comprehensive 5 years of study and then joining the profession?
No. Ultimately, we see. Ultimately, let us not shift that angle that we are not marketplaces. We do not prepare students for industry, and teaching institutions are not market. And when the people call it market, they attach the word market with education. I feel very uncomfortable actually. The interface of industry is for certain training program, like IPR, I can understand. But otherwise, I don't know how, in a complete sense, studies of the 5-year LL program can be for. We are not preparing students of 5-year LLB only for industry. Industry doesn't have that kind of a program where they can absorb all our students. Certainly not. I cannot think of MBA students or engineering student, but certainly not law students, because there it is a very defined area where the students go in the industry. No, not in all industries, right?
Right, sir. Thank you.
Certainly not.
Yes, sir. Second question is from Diksha Goyal. Although she is not present today because of high fever, but I'll ask the question. She must be hearing. It is, sir, do you think that in the near future, we can work on artificial intelligence aspect of law? In many countries, lawyers are working for developing in law, like maintaining the automatic templates in contracts and making the robotic judges. However, this might not seem possible as of now, but what do you think the avenues of it in India as of now?
Those who want to know the interface between law and artificial intelligence should read 3 books of Richard Susskind. let me repeat the spellings. Richard is Richard and Susskind is Susskind. I was fortunate that I could attend one of his lectures when I went to UK to attend a conference on access to justice on the invitation of the UK government. And I have not seen such a wonderful speaker in my life. Three books which he has written is Tomorrow's Lawyers and Introduction to Their Future. And the another is Transferring the Law. And the third is The End of a Lawyer. And all these books are about artificial intelligence and the interface between law. And then you can also have a look at the YouTube. There are lectures by Richard Susskind on YouTube. And one of the beautiful lectures is in the University of Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt University. This is a more than 1 hour long lecture on artificial intelligence and law through the presentations, wonderful presentation made by him. And the artificial intelligence certainly will change the gamut of law, and the students of law have to grapple with this because the programs like artificial intelligence would certainly impact the profession of law in the sense that more and more online kind of litigation, as we have seen after the pandemic, we have seen that almost 90-95% litigation is online. So it will certainly impact the future of the profession. So artificial intelligence is going to command more importance in future. And those who are more interested, they can go into read these books, and probably you can procure these books in the library. And the students can also see the lectures on the YouTube. Wonderful lectures and presentations made by Richard Susskind. You can play that in the classroom sometime. Let the students know how the artificial intelligence is going to impact legal studies. There is a whole range of material in the if you search Google, if you search YouTube, you'll find a lot of material on all these areas. Yeah.
Yes, Diksha, I hope you have heard it. Next is Lakshya Sharma. He is asking, being at the position at which you are, can you guide us that we should explore everything before deciding anything and then make a decision, or we should decide first and drive our choice? However, me and my friends are still not sure about the clear-cut path, as everything looks exciting and waiting to be explored.
Oh, when I started my education in a village, I used to write my takhti and the slate. I could never knew I am going to be a vice chancellor for 22 years. I did my higher secondary from my village and came to a college and then to a university. And I believe that I only believed in doing some hard work. I was a mediocre student, and again came to law by chance. I was a science student. I thought of doing MSc, but then for some reason I joined law, and then I never looked back. So ultimately, when you join any discipline, they initially don't worry what is going to happen in future. I never knew, or Mirdal will never knew, she is going to be a law professor or a dean or whatever. But then your job is to do hard work, and make yourself capable. As I said, you should be technically sound, professionally competent, and socially relevant. And then rest of the things will follow. So don't worry about the future, worry about the present. Work hard.
Okay, Laksh, I hope you have understood now. This is the only hard work which will pay. Yes, sir. Next is from Laksh. Next is from Tushar Singh. Tushar. The question is, why some institution only invites 5-year law graduates when there is no such difference mentioned in BCI rules in both courses? There are merely 2 paths to reach one same destination. Under Chapter 2 of BCI Rules of Legal Education, Section 4, Law Courses, which says there shall be 2 courses of law leading to bachelor's degree in law 3 years after graduation and 5-year integrated. Even course subjects are also as per Schedule 1 of BCI rules in both streams. Then why there is such difference? And I have seen in many legal researchers vacancy, it is clearly mentioned that required qualification is 5-year law graduate and not 3-year law graduate. I have never witnessed a single place where only 3-year LLB graduates be given preference over 5-year law graduates. Is there any lacking in 3-year course as comparable to 5-year course? Or if so, then what are that and what are the area of improvement for 3-year law graduates, sir? This is Tushar Singh.
Say before 1984, we have been having all 3-year institutions, right? And when we thought of the law school Bangalore in the year the first in the 1980s, and we I think probably it came in 1988, right? Uh, Before that, some reforms in legal education were carried on by the University of Delhi as the case law method was introduced in the 3-year program. But the major scale reforms were done when the law school Bangalore was established rather, and there the vision was twofold. Vision was that there would be a lecture method and also research, and case law of course would be there. And when in 1988 the law schools were established, uh, there was no other law school for a very long time. There was a meeting of the law ministers in 1996 in Bhubaneswar, and there it was decided that we will see the performance of the law school Bangalore, and after that we will decide whether we need to have more law schools. And when in 1996 that audit was done, and it was found that the law school Bangalore graduates, they have not only brought value to legal education, they have gone abroad, they have joined best of institutions like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Columbia. They've got best of fellowship, and they are doing extremely well. So it was decided to have more law schools, and that's how exactly after 10 years, the second law school which came up was at Bombay, Hyderabad. There was Nelsar University of Law, Hyderabad, where I had the good fortune to be the first vice chancellor, and then Bhopal, and then spate of other law schools came in. And your question that what is the difference between the 3-year course and the 5-year course is certainly there is a big difference between 3-year course and the 5-year course. In the 3-year course, if I frankly put it, there is no culture of research. In the 5-year law schools, the national law universities, there is a very strong culture of research right from the beginning. Let me give you the example of NLU Delhi. When any student of law, any student would aspire to join a 5-year course and is in the first year, you will find that the research writing starts from the very first semester. So when the method is like this, when you come, for example, I teach legal method. Say I have been teaching legal method for all these years. So when the student will come to the classroom, within the very first week, we'll prepare a list of if there are, say, for example, 60 students in the classroom, we'll prepare a list of 60 research projects and put in a box and ask each and every student to pick up a slip. They will pick up a slip, and the list will be prepared that these are the research projects the students will be preparing in this semester. The subject teacher would be the guide, and the students will prepare those research projects, and every student have to present that research which he has done in that semester in the classroom before 60 students, followed by question answers. So that start happening in the very first semester. And if there are say five subjects and 10 semesters, 50 courses you do, that means by the time you pass out of the law schools, you have done 50 research projects or the 50 research papers. The kind of research expertise you have acquired is phenomenal. And when you go for placements, any good law firm, would any good law firm, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So any good law firm would take a student who is good at research. And let me share with you that the best of advocates, people like Soli Sorabji or Nariman or Hari Salve, if you find they are all people, those who keep number of interns with them. And their job is to do research for them. When they argue in a Supreme Court, the kind of research they do is phenomenal. So you will be a good lawyer uh, when you are good at research. So to cut the story short, when a student will come to, say, for example, NLU Delhi, as I mentioned, the research component is very strong. Initially, for 15 days, the student will be in the library, finding out what are the primary sources, what are the secondary sources, how to consult the law books, how to consult the law reports, what is the software available, what are the database in the law, and then ultimately you come to know that what are the resources available for research. And then there's a state-of-the-art library where you can have access to about 30,000 research journals. You have about 70,000 books, all database available in the library. It may be LexisNexis, it may be Westlaw, everything. You can access that material from anywhere once you have admitted it to a law school. And that's what makes the 5-year law students different from the 3-year law schools. So that is the reason that the 5-year law schools have certainly an edge when they go for placement in the law firms, or they go anywhere else, or they like to become the interns. I let me give you one example. One of my Chief Justice was Chief Justice Mishra, who was not Mishra, just Sinha, who came to the Supreme Court later on. He was a very hard taskmaster. And when he came to the Supreme Court, I came to meet him once. But at the same time, he was very, he won't give you a smile. Even if you do a wonderful job, he will just keep silent. So I came to meet him, and then he met me and gave a very broad smile. And I was very free with him. I asked him,
So volume. So
and then he told me that I had a very difficult matter to handle, and I wanted to do some research. And one of the students of yours from Hyderabad is my intern. And I called that girl and said, "Can you do some research for me?" She said, "Certainly, sir." And I knew the matter was very, very difficult. I said, "How much time you will take?" She said, "Sir, maybe 1 week." I said, "No, take 15 days. And after 10 days, this girl came to me, and I thought she must not have found any material on the subject. And when I asked, "Could you find something on the subject?" She said, "Sir, yes, this is a 15-page note on the topic which you gave me." And he said, I said, "Okay, leave that note and let me read it." And during night time, I read that note once, twice, thrice. Morning, I was very disturbed, in fact, and I called that girl and said, "Who has written this note?" She said, "Sir, I have written it. This is my research." "Are you sure this is your research?" She said, "Yes." I was so happy that nobody could do that kind of research with that girl of 3rd year did for me. And every part of the research went into my judgment. And I was so happy delivering that judgment because I was not able to find anything at all. And these students, they have access to so much of material database that the kind of research they do is phenomenal. So that makes the law students of 5-year program in the best of the law schools different from the students, those who are pursuing 3-year course. Because it is not that 3-year course is not good, but that kind of program is not there for research. The culture of research is not there. And when the culture of research is not there, certainly you don't get that expertise, or you don't get into research. And let me tell you in short that the law schools have gained importance because the culture of research is very, very strong. Ultimately, how much research you uh, really do, how sincerely, whether you copy or you cut paste, now ultimately depends on you. How much research you want to know. That is your program. So that is the difference between a 3-year course and a 5-year course.
Yes, sir. So conclusion is to work hard, do more research if you
Yeah.
want to do something. Yes. And the next question is from Vijay Lakshmi Charan, sir. And she wants to ask, what are career options available in government sector for students having specialization or masters in IPR?
See, IPR students, now IPR is a very broad category, patents and copyright, trademark, traditional knowledge, so many things, you know. So you can go to the corporate sector and join a law firm. And if, as far as the government is concerned, not many jobs in government, but except if there may be some jobs in copyright or trademark, but very, very rarely. Most of the jobs are in the corporate sector, and some jobs maybe in the pharma sector. If you are a background, if your background is BSc or MSc chemistry, that
Sir, आवाज नहीं आ रही, sir. You are not audible. आवाज नहीं आ रही. Not audible, sir.
Seems there is some internet issue with.
Yes, sir.
uh,
आ रही है. Problem हो गई. क्या करें? Yes, everybody please stay here. He is reconnecting his system. There is some problem in the system. He is reconnecting, so everybody please be there. That's the problem. I think you all are getting the reply. आ गए sir, आ गए. Yes sir. There is some network problem. So should I tell you the next question, sir? Yes, Vijay Lakshmi Charan, you must have understood that there are not many jobs in the government, very rare jobs, and pharmacy jobs are there if your background is of BSc or something. So next question asked by the same girl, Vijay Lakshmi Charan, is why there seems to be very handful or no government jobs are being created in investigation agencies for fresh law graduates and postgraduates, for example, within CBI or IB, etc.
Probably she is not well informed. I often have been going to UPSC, and there are a lot of jobs created in these sectors which she is mentioning, and all those recruitments are done through the UPSC. Probably she has to look into these jobs, advertised from the government, central government from time to time. These are central government jobs, government jobs, and she should look at the portals of the central government.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Vijay Lakshmi, can you hear everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else you want to ask?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So next is Sir Kulvardhan Singh Bhati, and his question is there any career options available for law graduates within police department and other subsidiary agencies?
Go to police department in IPS. Many of my students, they are joining civil services now from the law schools, and they also join the state police services, they join the state administrative services. And there are direct recruitment. And if you qualify the test, the law student will certainly stand a good chance. There are of course options available for joining police at all levels, at all levels.
Yes, Kulvardhan, is it okay? Sir, next question is, advocates being professionals don't come under the scope of Minimum Wages Act. Thus, it becomes an open route for fellow advocates to exploit the fresh advocates by asking them to engage in a bondage labor kind of work environment at their office in return of money, which is mostly even lower than what the government has decided for uneducated, unskilled laborers. While law remains the best paid profession world over, so why is India not maintaining a good profile to boost up the much respected profession?
You are right, but this should be taken up with the Bar Council of India.
Okay.
Because the correct forum to voice these concerns is the Bar Council of India.
He is Anand. Anand, it is okay. Next is the catch-22 situation that lingers on budding lawyers, whether to go for a job or keep struggling to cement a step in independent advocacy, clearly fades away the initial years in tilting confusion. What precisely can be done to make law as a stable career if one chooses to practice independent advocacy?
You must
Yes,
read that. You must read that book, MC Chagla, Roses in December,
Roses in December.
right? And you must be having that in library or get it for them and ask them to read it. MC Chagla belonged to a very, very prestigious and illustrious family.
Yes.
And he writes in that book that the profession of a lawyer is full of struggle. Initially, it is all bed and no roses. And when you succeed, it is all roses and no bed. So that's why he says roses in December.
Yes.
So for every budding lawyer, there is a struggle initially, but once you succeed, then there is no looking back. No looking back, of course. And but that period may be 5 years, but maybe 10 years, but you should have the patience to struggle for some time.
Okay, sir. Yes, Anant, you are there. Anything else?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Anand. So, sir, these were the questions with me. If anybody wants to ask anything, the floor is
Yeah.
open for you all, please. Come on.
Any other question? Yes.
Ananya, you want to ask something? Twinkle? Anybody else? Prachi? No, no question.
I have a small submission, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you know, being a residential come affiliating university,
Yeah.
it's a huge task to maintain the academic standards of legal education across the state. You know,
Yes, yes.
the regional imbalances, other kind of problems and private versus public and all. So, sir, kindly tell us something that how to really work for maintaining standards in legal education in these colleges which are being affiliated with the university.
See, Dr. Dev Sarup, uh, COVID has done a lot of bad things,
Sir,
and COVID has also taught us a lot of good things. Now, through online education, through blended mode, you can uniformly provide the same kind of teaching to your students in the affiliated institutions as well. So I would rather now vote for that. Wherever you find that the faculty is deficient, that faculty can be supplemented by the online courses. And you know it, you were a part of the UGC for a long time. You are instrumental in giving us that e-Pathshala project, remember? And in that e-Pathshala project, there are, I think you should tell your students of LLM that there are under the SWIM portal, the portal of the UGC and the HRD, there are portals where there are 700 lectures.
yes.
And those lectures are for the students of law, especially LLM. And those lectures are audio visual. 400 in criminal law and criminology and 300 in general subjects, and those lectures are delivered in audio visual mode by best of teachers throughout the country. And that project was done by NLU Delhi, that is free. And there are dozens of MOOC courses. Again, those courses are free. So the affiliated college in your place can make use of online teaching, online learning, the e-Pathshala lectures which are there, and also the other, and even the universities abroad, they provide free access to lot of audiovisual material. There is no dearth of material as far as the online program is concerned, right? And that should be used actually. That you should be used by the students.
It's great, sir, and we will organize a workshop of all the 88 principals and some students on certain occasions. And we request you also to kindly address them.
Dr. Dev Swarup, I will send my librarian.
Sir,
She would come to you, stay for a day or so, and sensitize your students that how much of free access material is available online. And if you see, I got a mail from the library today that Springer has got 30,000 books online which can be accessed free.
that's wonderful.
30,000 books. That means out of those 30,000 books, at least not more than 2,000-3,000 books would be certainly on law and social sciences. So that is the material which now there's a lot of material available. Free access material is available. You need not pay anything. It is in the internet domain. The only thing is that you need to surface it, find it out, and make use of it. It is in the YouTube. It is in Google. If you just type lectures on democracy, you will find best of lectures on Google, and you can download those lectures. On almost every subject you can download. I see somewhere I have to go to speak something and the topic is new. I Google and find out and make some 10 points. My job is done. So you find everything now. It's so much of material.
Thank you.
But
sir.
at the same time, I also agree that in this country there is a knowledge divide. There is a digital divide. There is also a demographic divide. That difficulty is certainly there. But there is no dearth of material. So to conclude, what you said is that let your other institutions which are affiliated to you make maximum use of lectures, and your teachers should give more and more online lectures which can be shared with all affiliated colleges where the faculty is not of that standard which you have.
Thank you very much, sir. You have not only advised us to save money and to spend that money for other purposes, you have
Yeah.
given an insight to all our colleagues here, friends and students. So thank you very much, sir. Sir, one more.
Thank you.
One more.
Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Sir, any particular advice would you like to give to our LLM students? The majority students are from Rajasthan. They have very good academic credentials and they have a lot of enthusiasm. And initially we are holding the classes online, followed by offline. The situation becomes normal only after that. So would you like to suggest something to them, sir?
When things become normal for a student of LLM, either he or she is in the class or he or she is in the library from 9 to 5.
Yes.
Great, sir.
They should not be anywhere else. Their attendance should be in the library, not in the classroom.
Thank you very much, sir. Very kind of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Very
Yes,
good.
sir. Sir, our registrar, Shri Rajnarayan Sharma, is here, Ambedkar Law University registrar. So I request him to please propose a formal vote of thanks, sir.
Sir, so first of all, I welcome from deep of my heart, and it was really dream of mine to see you. And I have only seen you on a screen, but in near future, I would request you to come physically and deliver a valuable talk here also. On behalf of our Honorable VC sir, I thank you. I give vote of thanks to all on behalf of all our participants also. You have given a torch in the crisis time that how we should tackle our situation. Definitely we have lack of facilities, and even then by motivation of our VC sir, we are doing better day by day. So sir, I thank on behalf of our faculties, scholars, and all of our LLM students. So it is really a brainstorming and eye-opener session for all the students, and all things has become crystal clear now from career side also. So thank you very much, sir.
And if they have more questions, ask your Professor Mirdul to send those questions to me. I'll answer those and send to her.
Yes, sir. I will definitely coordinate
Yeah.
with the students and will let you know. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that the valuable inputs given by you will stay for long, and they will definitely carve a bright pathway for our students, sir. We are deeply honored to have you with us.
Thank you, Mirdul.
And before
Thank you, Mirdul.
Dr. साहब गए क्या?
नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं गया.
Before sir ends, I would like to really express my gratitude for his guidance, advice. I still remember that when I was in the University of Rajasthan and we started the selection process with law, and sir was the first expert of law, and we were supposed to start our selection process. And people know the reasons. Somehow it could not be done. तो हमने और सर ने और प्रोफेसर वीर सिंह जी ने हमने क्लार्क्स आमिर में जाकर लंच किया और चलते वक्त सर ने कहा कि ब्रदर एक ही चीज रखना कि अपनी जेब में अपना इस्तीफा हमेशा रखना, धुआंधार काम करना. आई फॉलोड और जिस दिन लगा कि अब धुआंधार काम उस स्पीड से नहीं हो सकता, उस दिन मैंने वो दे दिया. एंड सर दैट काइंड ऑफ spirit brought lot of laurels, lot of dignity and prestige to me as an individual and to my friends in UGC also. You know them, you know everybody in UGC. So it was a great time, and today, sir, your presence and your address to all of us has really enlightened us, enriched our knowledge base, And very shortly, we'll request you to kindly be here, and we'll seek your kind blessings and advice whenever it is needed. It's very kind of you, sir.
डॉक्टर देवस्वरूप, आप जैसी एग्जाम्पल देश में नहीं है.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Very
How
good.
many vice chancellors can resign on principles today?
Sir, can I share my feelings, sir?
Yes, sure, sir.
सर, कोई दिन ऐसा नहीं जाता जब आपका नाम इस बहाने उस बहाने सर की जुबान पे नहीं होता हो. Every time, sir. And he is so much energetic, a big motivator, and has given team spirit to all of us, sir.
We have a very strong mutual appreciation society.
Sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's concluded. Thank you, sir.